This is TWiT.
This is an app category that I had no idea existed until I saw this story on Android Police. Apparently, there are apps that control real-life claw machines. The only reason that I even care about this, even remotely, is the fact that my younger daughter loves claw machines. Like, she can't see one and not, like, want to spend all of her money clawing at that, that doll or whatever. So I'm very familiar with them. I kind of hate them, to be honest, because I'm the parent that's like, you spend $1 on that claw machine, you get nothing. If you save that dollar and put it with other saved dollars, you get something. I'm just saying. But she doesn't care. Part of the fun is actually playing. But apparently, this is an app category that is so a thing that Google is doing a pilot program for developers of these games, at least in Japan to start. The way this is going to work is that each game is going to be certified by a play industry partner. In this case, Japan Online Crane Game Industrialist Association, which is a mouthful. So just call it JOCA, J-O-C-A, if you like. This program is going to run from July 11th of this year through July 11th of next year, so a year. Google will follow up with user feedback. It'll confirm that participating games are actually following restrictions and rules. So it's placing guidelines around, like, if I own a claw machine and I have an app that people are downloading to control that claw machine, they probably just want to make sure that people aren't getting ripped off in the process. Like, it's a cool idea and it deserves to exist, but how can we make sure that it exists in a way that is fair and not breaking laws or whatever the case may be? Also placing restrictions on what those claw machines can and can't do, like offering NFTs, that's a no-no, or offering cryptocurrency, that's a no-no. But apparently this is just like a huge thing in Japan. Like, we have claw machines here, but the claw machines, from what I understand, in Japan are like next level, and they're way better in some way.
Are you surprised to hear?
I'm not surprised at all. I just never thought about it. Like, I just thought claw machines are claw machines. But I'm just really happy that my youngest daughter doesn't know that apps like this exist, because she'd be all over it. She'd be like, I just want to spend all my birthday money on this claw machine in Japan in the hopes that I can get that doll.
Until she watches the show, until she watches this episode, and then you're screwed.
Thankfully, she doesn't.
They are
the show.
everywhere, and the prizes in them are amazing. And I can't help but think, like, it's really interesting. Actually, I think the common name for them is UFO catchers, and it's kind of like how we call tissues Kleenex. I think UFO catchers was like an OG game from like Sega or something, and then it just became like the kind of ubiquitous name for it. But they are everywhere, and I can't help.
The claw came down and grabbed the cow, I think, or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never known. I just know they were called UFO catchers, and I could never understand why, because I'm like, they catch more than UFOs. I've definitely seen a big Pikachu or two, like, go up with the claw.
The claw.
Ooh.
Yeah. So anyways, it's a thing that exists so much so that Google has a pilot program around it. I just thought it was interesting. I was like, wow, that's go Google, I suppose. I didn't even know this was a category that existed. But it actually makes a lot of sense when I think about the mechanics of a claw machine. It's just a joystick. It's a joystick and a button. Same thing that you'd be able to do on your phone. Yeah. Why couldn't you do that, from a distance with a real claw machine? And, they have it, the apps that serve this or that do this have it set up, I suppose, if they're done well, where if you actually win the prize, they ship the prize to you, right? So it's not just playing the game, but then you end up getting a ship. So I don't know how much they cost. I have to imagine.
Oh, that's the gotcha.
Of course it is. Yeah, that's always the gotcha with claw machines. My goodness.
So what's so funny is that, like, I had talked to a company related to when we were working on Scorbit a couple of years ago before the pandemic, and they were a company called Surrogate, and they still exist now at surrogate.tv. Don't load it up, Burke, but if you want to go look at it. But they are basically like remote robotic online gaming and they have a whole section of claw machines.
Yeah.
So like they build the software to program the robots to control these claw machines, which is fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
So they also built people use the same tools that they use to control pinball machines remotely. So somebody set up a pinball machine with cameras on it, and you could play the machine via browser. It was pretty neat. But
wow.
Yeah.
That seems problematic, though. At least the claw machine, there isn't like instant reflex need, right?
Yeah,
you
that's
just you position it and you hit the button when you're ready to go. On a pinball machine, like doing that virtually, that like the lag, the latency there.
Which it got a lot of scrutiny, but also a lot of people like, oh, this is so cool,
For sure, right.
I
Interesting.
just really wonder what the end game to this is, because I mean, it's definitely popular in Japan, but it's like, it's one country. And I understand like, a lot of technical innovations and we kind of think of Japan as like, kind of like a center of a lot of like nerd culture. So I suppose like it on the surface, it makes sense, but I kind of wonder what the end game for this is.
Right.
Like whether this is like some kind of like primordial Google, like merging, I don't know, like pachinko or like other, like, that's getting into gambling, but kind of starting to merge real life, kind of these kind of games with, virtual and
experience.
I don't know. It just seems so. I mean, it's great, and I think it's really fun, but it's so niche that there's got to be like some kind of underlying experiment for something bigger or broader going on.
Yeah, it seems very specific.
Very specific
for Google to be like, yeah, we should do a pilot program around this. Okay. Yeah, I'm really curious. That's why I tagged it, because I was like, huh? It was like, put it. Yeah, Burke's saying Stadia. I don't know. I think that horse is out of the stable at this point.
Yeah. Well, just watch if you ever get a package from Japan Post, Jason. You might be getting,
somebody won me a Hatchimal or whatever the prize. Actually, no, they're not. They're what are they? God, I can't even remember. My daughter has like 1 million of them. They're squashmallows. That's the thing right now.
Like
they're
3
called
Christmases
squashmallows.
ago.
No, they're huge right now. You go in there.
Yeah.
Squashmallows are huge. And sure enough, we went into Safeway the other day, and there was a claw machine there, and she ran over and she came back. She's like, I need $1. I was like, why? She's like, there's a squashmallow in that claw machine. And I go over and I look at it, and it's a whole. I mean, it's the typical claw machine thing, right? Like tons of stuff in there, all like smushed down, like really hard and interweaved with each other. The one thing you really want is the squashmallow, and it's pushed up against the glass. And I'm like, dude, the claw doesn't even go there. Like you could try endlessly, and you will never get that thing. She's like, I don't care.
She doesn't know how to shake the machine yet, does she?
She no, nor could she. I mean, this machine.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if she knew a very tall man who was quite stout-hearted,
that was willing. Yes, if she knew that man that was willing to shake the machine, you're right. Maybe then there's something. But anyways,